Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonia. Here on my channel, we have healthy discussions about life, love, dating, and relationships while promoting self love and healing. I sometimes use hot topics and TV shows as my medium. And today we're talking about Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 6. You dropped the bomb on me. Now, I don't have much of a voice, so I won't be before you long. I just have a few other points that I want to make. Regarding this episode. But first, if you are new here, welcome and thank you to everyone who is supporting my channel and thank you for your continued support. I appreciate you. Okay, so one day I'll do another video or maybe a live where we kind of go more in detail about how I'm feeling about some of the hangups that the couples are having. But I find a pattern again, like I said in my last video, where people aren't able to properly communicate what it is that they want, what it is that they need, and they're not self-aware enough to know what they're assessing for. And a lot of times when you have a hard time figuring out who you want to be with, and if you're extremely picky and nothing makes sense and nothing fits, is because you're usually or possibly not fully aware of who you are and what works for you, and you're afraid of trusting yourself to make the correct decision in picking a partner. And of course, a lot of us are trying not to be hurt again. So then you're trying not to be hurt and you're trying not to make a mistake. Again, it goes back to trust. And I see this a lot with these couples. Um, there's a fine line between honesty and healthy, effective communication. There are issues with safety amongst one another in a relationship. Like there should be a certain amount of protection that you offer your partner. Like, bottom line, everything isn't for everyone. Every discussion isn't for everyone. I know this is a public TV show, but I feel like let's agree about what we're going to discuss. A lot of couples have done that, and that isn't really being done here so much. I don't know. There's just a lot to unfold, but I'm gonna again make this a quick video and then we'll dive more into it later because I know there's more to come. First up, we have Chris and Nicole. And I want to start with what I love. What I love is that they do have conversations, getting to know one another and talking about the expectation of their relationship and what they've learned from their past relationships and how they want to move forward with their future relationship. I love that Chris reassured Nicole that the reason why we are not being intimate isn't because I don't find you attractive and I don't want to. There are some concerns that I have that I need to work out. I'm fine with that. Where I do have concerns, though, is I'm wondering, like, Chris, are you still grieving your past relationships? And how can we get past that? Because he's kind of stuck there. Everything goes back to how much he was mistreated. You could talk about, I've grown past or I've learned some things from my past relationships, but this constant conversation about how poorly he has been treated in his past relationships really isn't healthy for the current one. Okay. One, this is a new relationship. You don't know Nicole just yet. Nicole is already trying to jump in to see where, in my opinion, where she can kind of be in control, where she can dominate, you know. You don't want to make it seem as though you're okay with being mistreated. And I know he keeps saying, I don't want to be mistreated. So what I get Chris saying is Chris is saying, I don't want to relive this. I don't want to be mistreated. I don't want a toxic relationship. I want to be loved and I want to love. I get him sharing some of these things. This is what he's trying to say. Where I always warn people to be careful when you share too much of this information too soon before you understand a person's intention and mindset is that they can eventually use that against you. I can't say that I feel like Nicole is going to, but I feel like Nicole is looking for a identity in this relationship, and she may go a little too far trying to be the protector, and that's going to turn Chris off, you know, because then she's going to feel like she has to defend him against everyone, and she has to be the defender, and that's going to turn him off because you can tell he doesn't like mean girls, you know. So I really want Chris to grieve these relationships separately from his current relationship. Like, I want them both to grieve their relationships. And it's time to let those relationships go and really cultivate the one that they have. They're not doing a terrible job. Like I said, I love that they have these conversations, but I want to see them having fun. And they're not having fun. Like, let's balance this out a little bit. Everything is about who mistreated whom and how badly I was mistreated. And there's so much more to you than how someone mistreated you. And for Chris, I would want to know, what are you trying to get across? I think what I said earlier is really what he's saying. And I wish he would just kind of use those words. Like, I'm not, set your boundaries. As he said, I'm not willing to be in a toxic relationship. I want proper, healthy communication. I don't tolerate abuse. We don't have to keep reliving these stories of people constantly hurting them. And the same with Nicole. And with Nicole, I really hope that um, she can stay in a kind of like an either kill place. And you don't want a person not to be them true selves, but you do want them to be their healthy self, right? And so that takes self reflection. How are you showing up in these relationships, and how do you behave, and how does your behavior impact your relationships? Okay. And that's another thing. If Chris is always down and always sad, after a while that becomes draining. And it's like, okay, well, when are we going to have fun? When are we going to be in a good mood? When are we just going to enjoy each other? So those are my concerns. And I just hope that they can balance that. And everything isn't about the misuse and abuse of the past partners. And then you don't want to let a person know that you don't think that much of yourself, that you've allowed someone to keep mistreating you. Like, that's a component as well. This may not be an issue for them, but to anyone out there, sometimes when you're trying to tell a person, I've been through a lot and I don't want to go through it again. So you tell them all your trauma. Sometimes you're telling them you tolerate a lot of abuse. So just be mindful. That's my message. Be mindful about oversharing your past relationships with someone. You don't know if that information can be used in a healthy, proper manner. Like, are they going to care for this information? So that's it with those two. I just want them to relax. I want them to have fun, but I feel like Chris needs to grieve these relationships. I feel like that for Nicole too, but I'm like, it's starting to show that Chris is really getting anxious. He's really in his head. And then Clint didn't make it any better because Clint was like, she's going to run over you. These are fears of his. And I don't know if Chris is the kind of person that once he's in a relationship, he can't let go, and that's part of his fear as well, that he may not be able to walk away. But you have to think enough of yourself to deserve a healthy relationship. He set his boundaries. It's up to you, Chris, to hold those boundaries strong and don't negotiate on them when it comes to your safety, the safety of your mind, your body, your heart, and your mental health. You guard it with your life. And if a person can't respect that, you have to make a decision and you have to make a choice, and you choose them in that relationship or you choose you. Okay. So that's my message for those two. So next up, we have Dominique and Mac. With Dominique this episode, I saw her as the older sibling who feels like everyone has to do what she says or she's upset. So Mac was a little misleading. He's trying to go with the flow. He's not on taking up his own space. And so my encouragement to Mac is, Mac, you need to take up some space for yourself. You need to communicate, hey, I want to hang out on the beach too. Let's balance this out. Like, have that conversation with her. Don't try to be so accommodating, so pleasing, and you're writing the narrative trying to be who she wants you to be and give what she wants you to give. You got to show up as yourself and be honest about how you're feeling. Like, I've never rode a horse before. This would be new for me. This would be an adventure. That would have been sufficient. I don't know where this comedian part is coming from. Is this how he tries to cope? Like, I have questions about Mac's ability to communicate. Like, you're a businessman, you're dealing in according to what he says, he's a businessman. You have to be able to socialize and have conversations and build relationships and kind of read the room. So for me, I'm wondering, why is this such a struggle for him? Where is this discomfort coming from? And why are you trying to please her? He keeps going back to that. And Relationships are about partnerships and they are about caring and servicing your other partner, but they're also about you. And you guys are still in the early stages of this relationship, and you need to be trying to determine if this is the one for you. And I say that for all the couples. Is this person the person for you? Is Dominique the kind of personality that you want to be with? Um, and ask for some of the things that you want as well. And he's not asking for a little balance. And it's okay to give yourself permission to ask for balance. Otherwise, you become resentful and disgruntled because none of your needs are getting met. This is your honeymoon as well, and you want to chill on the beach. Like I want to chill on the beach. Like, do we have to do everything together if this is so important to you that you do all these activities? Or let's negotiate. After we ride the horses, let's go hang out on the beach. But Dominique is pretty much like in Jamaica on their dime. I'm doing everything. And that's not fair to your partner. There needs to be a little give and take there. But all of these adults have to use their words. They need to learn to express themselves and say what it is that they really want and what they're really thinking and how they're really feeling. So it's time to access some of those feelings and some of that verbiage to kind of get their needs met. And I feel like that's a barrier there with those two. I appreciated that Matt went to Dom and apologized and said, I know you don't get my sense of humor and how I came across could be kind of draining and I'm sorry. And I felt like it was a sincere apology. And she shut that down. And it's kind of like double down on you bother me. So did something else happen here or why? I'm wondering why her reaction was as it was. But you don't own him, Don. He is your partner and you guys are in this together and you are supposed to make sure each other are okay. And if it's just about you and your honeymoon, it's like she's just treating this as a vacation. He's an accessory that came along and whatever I want to do is what I want to do and it's all about me. And it's not all about you. You have a person with you that is your partner, that is your mate. Check in with him. Like I don't even see her getting to know him and talking to him. I don't see neither one of them really doing it, but I think he doesn't really know how to, and I don't think she's interested. At least that's what I get. I hope I'm wrong, but that's the vibe I get. So I don't know. We'll see more on them, but there needs to be some give and take in that relationship. Next up, we have Airris and Jasmine. Okay, with these two, I feel like Airris is in over his head, and Jasmine is a little in over her head as well. With Jasmine, what really concerned me is that when she found out that Aries had never been in love, her first instinct was to take that on. You don't own that. You don't own his inability to fall in love because I don't even think this is about him not really being able to fall in love. I think this is something else. I think this is about access to emotions. I think this is about healing some inner wounds that has to do with loss and abandonment and proper healthy grieving. Um, when he said that, I would have liked for Jasmine to say, well, what does love look like for you? What does it feel like? How do you know you're loved? How do you know you're loved? I don't think he's ever had that conversation. Like, Aries is way in over his head with all of this. This is all foreign to him. I don't know what kind of relationships he has had or conversations about relationships that he's had, but to me, he seems completely disconnected from this whole relationship process at all. And I know he said he hasn't had relationships, but then he's also said he's had relationships, which a lot of these couples have been completely inconsistent in a lot of the things that they've said. But he doesn't know what to do with this. Aries needs help. I've said that. Aries needs some support and a mentorship and maybe deal with the loss of his dad or abandonment issues. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but he has never even had this conversation about love, feeling, and emotion, right? With anyone. Again, I called him early on a man without a country. Aries is so lost, in my opinion, and he wants to figure it out. I think he wants to figure out. He's trying to figure out, but he just doesn't know what to do. And so it's hurting Jasmine, excuse me, it's hurting Jasmine. Jasmine has taken this on as her cross to bear. Jasmine, this has nothing to do with you. This has nothing to do with you. You can't make him love you. You can't make him access his emotions. You can't make him know what it is to be a husband. It isn't for you. Don't go into the parenting mode. And she's kind of doing that. She's doing everything for him. Um, and then there's like this confusion about intimacy with the two of them. I think he kind of felt shot down when she couldn't flag her freak flag for him. He doesn't know what kind of conversation to have out of this. Like, poor Aries can't, he doesn't know how to have conversations outside of sex, right? He doesn't know how to connect, and she doesn't really know either. So both of them are very kind of like immature in this aspect as far as how to cultivate a relationship. They need help learning how to cultivate a relationship, and that kind of starts with the relationship with yourself. I don't think they know how to relate well, but I don't want her to own his past, you know. I don't want her to own that. And something has happened. I don't know. I look at it two ways when he says, I she was an 8, now she's a 4. So is this okay? The dogs was a strike. Maybe her teeth, and I don't mean that to be shady, but some people are big on teeth. So maybe her teeth was a strike. Maybe her not being willing to talk about sex is a strike, right? Maybe these things, because he looked at her butt at the wedding. I mean, not at the wedding, when they were getting undressed at the hotel after the wedding, and he seemed to like what he sees. But now all of a sudden it's kind of like, no, her butt is not big enough. And Serena Williams' butt and all these other butts. Like, okay, you like thicker women, but you were happy when you first saw her. So did you subtract points because of all of these things, like the dogs and everything? Or is this about, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to have this conversation. I don't know if I can relate to her. I don't know if we can get along. And you're starting to get afraid that you can't measure up. And because you feel like you can't measure up, it's easier just to say, I think she's kind of a friend. Or you don't know how to relate to a woman who has some truth about herself and who isn't just going to like talk inappropriately at the inappropriate time about inappropriate things. So I don't know what to do with a lady who's a pageant lady and who knows how to speak and knows how to handle herself. Is it this, or is it the other, or is it all of them together? It could be. We'll see. Time will tell with the two of them. But I see Aries is drowning, honestly, but I don't want Jasmine to own this. I want Jasmine to understand that this is his cross to bear. This is something he has to deal with, and not to jump in and try to fix it, because that's the wrong thing to do. Chasing after him is the wrong thing to do. What you kind of need to do is pull back, enjoy yourself, stand in your beauty, and keep it moving. And if he is really interested in making this work, he'll figure it out. But don't try to figure it out for him. So we'll see. Next up, we have Shaq and Kirsten. Shaq was really trying to get an understanding of what is going on with Kirsten, but Shaq is already aware. He knows that she isn't attracted to him. She said it several ways in several arenas, several times. She's made it clear that she's not physically attracted to him. And I don't know if he's just trying to push it. It kind of reminds me of last season when Justin was trying to make Alexis say what he wanted to hear so that she can basically be outed or get confirmation. But there really isn't a point to it, I feel. I feel like if she's not attracted to you and you two can't find common ground, then you need to decide what you want to do and how you want to move forward and how you're going to make it through this process, right? Pushing the attraction, trying to get your affection in when you can get it, trying to take advantage of the moments when she's playing it up for the cameras. That doesn't make you look good either. It doesn't make her look good either. But it doesn't look fitting for Shaq. You say you're a gentleman. This isn't something a gentleman will do. If a lady tells you she doesn't like you and she doesn't like for you to touch her, you don't touch her, you know? And again, like I said last time, I wouldn't allow someone to play ping pong with me. I'll really advocate for self love, because once you have a love and respect for yourself, there's just so many games you will not allow people to play with you. And Kirsten is playing. And he was trying, they were having a conversation, and Shaq was trying to get Kirsten to say what she liked, and she kind of curtailed around the conversation. That's enough. You have enough information, right? Move accordingly. That would be my advice. So, what do you want to do with this information? You have the information. What do you want to do with it? How do you want to be treated? Is this the kind of wife that you want? Is this the kind of love that you want? Is this something you're willing to fight for? And I know it's early on, but sometimes just letting a person know that you're not going to allow them to disrespect you changes how they treat you. Some people, when they know they can take advantage, they're going to. I always tell you, predators are going to prey. People who operate out of a certain place and space will do that until they learn differently. So you teach people how to treat you, understand that, know that, stand in that, and require that you're treated a certain way, or you remove yourself or you conduct yourself accordingly. That's my advice for Shaq. I wouldn't keep trying to push this, what do you like? What do you love? I will let, again, Kirsten come to me. Once you figure out what it is that we're doing here, we can talk about it once you're clear, because I'm in this and I don't want to do the back and forth. But again, like I said before, I do think Kirsten wants Shaq to know more, but more about her. But Shaq is kind of like joking around. And that goes back to the conversation that I had before, but that these couples don't know how to get the information they need and share the information they need. And that starts with knowing. When you know what you're looking for, right? You're going for a man who's a leader. You know what a leader looks like. You know what you're assessing for. But when you don't know these things and you just have the concept or know the terms, you get confused and you can't stay focused. And it just doesn't, it's a waste of time. It doesn't fare as well. So I wish them luck, but we'll see. Last, we have Clint and Gina. Number one, when we talk about attraction growing, can attraction grow? Yes, I've experienced it. I've experienced where I wasn't physically attracted to someone I met, and then visually I became attracted to them, right? Through conversation. However, I am not a looks person. Yes, I have to want to be near you. I have to want you to want to touch me, things like that. But I am not the kind of person that looks for looks um off the bat. That's the most important thing to me, for me initially. So I may be a little different in that way. um Gina started this conversation, at least publicly, about not liking ginger features. And I, as a Black woman, am fully aware that the term ginger is offensive to some people with red hair and freckles and quote unquote ginger features. I know every community has some terms that they use amongst themselves that they're okay with. However, when it comes to other people using it, they're not okay with. We all experience that. But I don't like how she dismissed Clint when Clint said, "You don't think ginger is offensive." With that said, I do think Clint was offended that she said ginger. I do think he was offended. He didn't quite own that. And I wish he had just said, you know what, it really offended me that you use that terminology, right? Although Gina has been kind of dismissive, let me just be clear. I think for whatever reason, Gina got turned off by Clint. and she decided to try to push him away, and this was the way that kind of worked out. And I say that because if you watch when they had that conversation about the ginger features, she kept doubling down on not being attracted to him. Okay, you said the physical attraction isn't there yet. Apparently, you guys have that conversation off camera. But you keep going now. She could have just been offended that he said he usually likes slender women, and that kind of was what really upset her. And then she decided to dig her heels in. That very well could be it. But you guys had this conversation about what you don't like, okay, or what you like, or what you find attractive in a person. Then, when they were at breakfast, and Clint is taking the approach of, I'm just going to make the best of it, figure this out. Let's just see where it goes, right? She doubled down on how busy she was going to be, and she kept cutting him off and things like that. She just seemed annoyed with Clint um, that morning. Now she went from, yeah, maybe you can help me have fun, help me loosen up, give me advice, to I'm going to be busy. I have a contract, I have onboarding, I have the shop, I have things happening. So it's like everything changed in a blink of an eye, seemingly. So I felt like Clint decided, when they were in a group setting and they were having a conversation and they were talking about the issues they were having with attraction, Clint said, I'm going to get ahead of it. And he kind of fell into a trap. And I think Clint was trying to say, she's not going to say she doesn't like ginger features before I say I like athletic women. Um, and again, I felt like it was a trap. He fell right into it. And now he gets to be the bad guy. I wish he hadn't said it in that moment. you know? If she had brought up ginger things, then maybe like, okay, well, maybe saying it then, but I wouldn't have fell for it because that's what she wanted. I honestly feel like Gina wanted it out. She wanted a way to have people on her side, right? And then he said, which let me just be clear, I'm a curvaceous woman. And if you were to say you're not attracted to curvy women in my presence, I'm not going to be offended. I don't know why nowadays no one cannot like something. Like we all have to like the same things. We all have to want the same things. Like it's so monolithic. If he's not attracted to curvy women, okay. Now I can see if he said curvy people are disgusting. That's different, okay? Because now you're on the attack. She said to him, I don't vibe with ginger features. I don't vibe with gingery people. Like, I don't get along with you, is what she said. He said, I'm usually attracted to more athletic people. So for me personally, I wouldn't have been offended, but the other ladies were offended. She was offended. And now Clint is the bad guy. Although Clint does need a filter because the blowing the back out comment that he made with Airris and Jasmine was inappropriate. That's not again how a gentleman speaks. And I kind of blame Airris because Airris, honey, when you have a wife or a woman, people that you respect and you want people to respect and hold up in the high guard, you don't ever uncover them. And when you're talking to people and you're like, I'm gonna blow my wife back out, things like that. Husbands that love their wives, and I know he doesn't know her, okay, but when you want to protect your wife, you never open the door to allow anyone to be inappropriate in any kind of way. How you speak about them, how you present them, how you carry yourself, all of that is a reflection of your marriage and your relationship. But this goes back to him not having that experience, and it shows because that should not have been something that was said, right? The same with Clint. Clint needs help in this area as well. Clint, to say someone's wife needs to be blown out. Mac is out here like, I think your wife is fine. What's wrong with you? I'm like, what? Y'all guys understand? Like, men code, these people need relationship help. That's why I do relationship coaching, because one thing I know is that people don't know how to have relationship, and I'm not just talking about romantic relationship. People don't know how to relate to other people, like where to toe the line. I was always raised, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's your intention as well. And I know the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but there really are times where people are intentionally trying to hurt you. And there are times where people are really just standing up for themselves. And nowadays, we don't know the difference between I have a boundary and I'm going to set my boundary and people being offended, because people will be offended for you having a boundary. And this is not what this is. This is just kind of like, I'm going to say whatever, I'm going to do whatever, and not worry about how I am being disrespectful. Like, not even being able to see the disrespect is what I'm trying to say. They can't even see how this is improper. Like, socialization, we need a little class on socializing. Dr. Pepper, you're a sociologist. This is where you should step in. And then we need some etiquette classes and some self-awareness classes. Like, there's some self-discovery classes happening. Like, there's a lot of opportunity here to help these individuals, because even if they don't make it in these relationships, maybe they can make it in other relationships, but they need some tools, in my opinion. So that's my thought. I find it unfortunate. I think that's pretty much done with Gina and Clint. I don't see them really coming back from that. I don't think that she wants to. And I agree with Clint when Clint said, I feel like she was just looking for her out. Um, and I didn't really see them connecting. I saw Clint like trying to drag something out of her, and her just want to focus on the salon, and them not really getting into anything else as far as who they are as people. And I didn't really see attraction. I just saw Clint saying, "I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna give it my all. Like, we're here. Let's just see what it does." Right. Um, but I don't know, guys. We'll see what happens next week. And that's really it. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. Please comment. I am going to go take some cough medicine. But guess what I want you to do? I want you never to forget to love yourself for who you are, guys. Be well. Take care. I'll see you soon. Good night. Bye bye.